The maid thought the billionaire felt nothing, until he reached for her and asked her to stay. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support truly means the world to us. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us return to our main character. The room is quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the heavy kind that presses against your chest. A private recovery suite on the top floor, decorated for the holidays with simple lights and a small tree by the window. Outside, snow drifts down in slow, patient flakes. Inside, machines hum softly, measuring breaths and heartbeats with calm indifference. He lies on the bed, tall and still, eyes open but distant. A man who owns buildings people point at. A man whose name once moved markets with a single sentence. Now, he stares at the ceiling as if nothing below it exists. Doctors have already said what everyone else suspects. The trauma took something from him. Emotion, they say. Feeling. The part that reaches back. She stands beside the bed. She is not family. She is not a nurse. She is the maid. Hired quietly. Temporary. Someone to make sure the room stays clean, the water is refilled, the curtains open and close on schedule. Someone invisible. She knows the rules. Do your job. Do not ask questions. Do not linger. Do not get attached. Still, every morning at exactly 7:30, she folds the same white cloth and places it on the side table. She opens the curtains just enough to let the winter light touch his face without blinding him. She wipes the dust no one else notices. She speaks only when necessary. Good morning. I will be back shortly. The weather looks clear today. No one told her to talk to him like that. She does it anyway. They say he does not feel anything. They say he does not react. They say this is the best place for him, with the best care money can buy. And yet, something about the room feels unfinished when she is not there, as if the air itself waits. There is a man in a tailored suit who visits often. He stands at the foot of the bed and checks his watch more than he checks the patient. He speaks in low, efficient tones. Recovery timelines. Asset protection. Public appearances that will never happen. He does not look at her when he speaks. To him, she is part of the furniture. She does not mind. She has learned how to disappear when necessary. But sometimes, when she is changing the water or straightening the blanket, she feels it. A pause. A shift. The faintest change in the room. As if something inside him listens, even if it cannot answer. She tells herself it is nothing. She tells herself she is imagining it because she needs the job. Because her life has taught her to notice small things. Because hope is a habit she has not fully broken. Late one afternoon, the snow thickens. The sky darkens early, turning the window into a gray mirror. She finishes her tasks quietly, careful not to disturb him. Her shift is almost over. Another maid will come. Another voice. Another set of hands. She reaches for the door. That is when it happens. A sound, barely more than a breath. Not a word. A movement. His hand, slow and uncertain, reaches across the space between them. His fingers close around her wrist, gentle but unmistakably real. She freezes. For the first time since the accident, he looks at someone and does not look through them. Do not go, he says. 2 words. Rough. Fragile. Alive. In that moment, everything everyone believed about him begins to crack. She does not pull away. For a second, she cannot. His hand is warm. Not strong, not desperate, just present. As if he is afraid that if he loosens his grip, the world will slip out with it. Her heart pounds so loudly she is certain he must hear it. I am here, she says quietly, more to steady herself than to reassure him. I am not leaving yet. His fingers relax, but they do not let go. The door opens moments later. The man in the tailored suit steps inside, his expression sharp, already annoyed. He stops when he sees their hands. His eyes narrow, not in shock, but in calculation. What is going on, he asks. The maid straightens slowly. She does not step back. Not yet. He asked me to stay. That is not appropriate, the man says. You are not part of his medical team. I am not claiming to be, she replies. Her voice surprises even her. It is calm, grounded. I am only here because he asked. The man exhales through his nose, clearly displeased. He steps closer to the bed, lowering his voice. This is a temporary situation. He is confused. Emotional responses are unpredictable at this stage. The billionaire does not look at him. His eyes stay on her. I know who I am talking to, he says slowly. Each word costs him effort, but he does not stop. She is the only one who stays. Silence fills the room again, heavier than before. The man in the suit hesitates. He is not used to hesitation. He nods once, stiffly. 5 minutes, he says. Then you leave. When the door closes, the maid finally releases the breath she has been holding. I am sorry, she says. I did not mean to cause trouble. You did not, he answers. His voice is rough and used. Everyone else talks at me. You talk like I am still here. She swallows. You are still here. The words hang between them, fragile and dangerous. She pulls a chair closer to the bed, careful not to assume anything. He watches her as if she might vanish if he looks away. The machines continue their steady rhythm, indifferent to the shift that just occurred. I was told you do not feel anything, she says gently, choosing her words with care. If you want me to go, you only need to say so. He shakes his head, the movement small but firm. I feel too much, he says. That is why I stopped. She does not ask him to explain. She waits. Waiting has always been something she is good at. After a moment, he speaks again. Before the accident, everyone wanted something. My time. My name. My signature. After the accident, they wanted silence. They wanted me calm. Manageable. And you? She asks softly. I wanted quiet, he says. But not emptiness. Her gaze drifts to the window, where snow continues to fall. Quiet and empty are not the same thing, she says. One can heal. The other just waits. He studies her, as if committing her. Face to memory. Why are you here, he asks. She hesitates. The simple answer feels too small. I needed work, she says finally. And I needed to believe that being useful still mattered. It does, he says without hesitation. To me. A knock interrupts them. The man in the suit opens the door again. Time. She stands slowly. This time, when she steps away, he does not reach for her. Instead, he watches, as if testing whether she will return on her own. She pauses at the door. I will be back tomorrow morning, she says. 7:30. His shoulders ease, just a little. That night, she does not sleep well. Her thoughts circle the room. The way his hand felt around her wrist, the sound of his voice when he said do not go. She reminds herself of the rules. Temporary. Professional. Do not get attached. But the next morning, when she enters the suite, she knows something has already changed. He is awake. Not just awake, but waiting. You came, he says. She smiles despite herself. I said I would. As the days pass, a rhythm forms between them. She talks, not to fill silence, but to share it. She tells him about the small things. The coffee shop downstairs that burns the toast every morning. The way the city sounds different after snowfall. The holidays she no longer celebrates, but still remembers. He listens. Truly listens. Sometimes he responds. Sometimes he only closes his eyes, as if absorbing the sound of her voice is enough. The man in the suit watches all of this with growing concern. Progress is visible now. Too visible. Doctors begin to note improvements. Awareness. Engagement. Emotional response. They ask what changed. No one mentions the maid. Until one afternoon, she overhears a conversation in the hallway. Words like dependency, risk, replacement. Her chest tightens. That evening, when she enters the room, he senses it immediately. What is wrong, he asks. She forces a smile. Nothing. He shakes his head. You are leaving, he says, not as a question. She sits beside him, her hands folded in her lap. I might have to, she admits. They think I am too much. He looks at her for a long moment, then nods slowly. Then I will have to learn how to stand without you, he says. But I would rather choose you than recover. Alone. Her eyes sting. She looks away before he can see. Neither of them knows yet that the choice will not be left to her alone. By the end of the first week, everyone can see it. The change is subtle, but undeniable. His posture shifts when she enters the room. His eyes no longer drift aimlessly to the ceiling. They follow movement. Sound. Her. The doctors begin using words like improvement and engagement, careful not to promise too much, but unable to ignore what is right in front of them. She keeps doing what she has always done. She arrives at 7:30. She folds the cloth. She opens the curtains to the same measured angle. She speaks in the same steady tone. She never asks questions he does not offer answers to. She never pushes. One morning, As she straightens the blanket, he speaks without looking at her. Do you know what silence feels like when it is forced? He asks. She pauses, then nods. Yes. That is all it takes. He begins to tell her things in pieces, never all at once. Not the headlines version of his life. Not the public story. The private one. The one no one ever paid attention to. He tells her about the constant noise before the accident. Meetings that never ended. Phones that never stopped vibrating. People who waited for him to fail just so they could take his place. He tells her how even at home, even alone, his mind never rested. After the accident, he says, staring at his hands, everything went quiet. At first, it felt like relief. Then it felt like I disappeared. She listens without interruption. When he stops, she does not rush to fill the space. You did not disappear, she says finally. You were still here. You just needed someone to sit in the quiet with you. He looks at her then, really looks at her. Why are you so good at this? He asks. She hesitates. The answer is not something she usually shares. Because I learned early that being present matters more than being important, she says. People leave when things get hard. I learned how to stay. That night, the man in the tailored suit calls her into the hallway. This arrangement cannot continue, he says without preamble. The doctors are concerned about emotional dependency. She feels the words like a physical blow. I am not doing anything inappropriate, she replies. I am only doing my job. Your job was to clean the room, he says sharply. Not become his anchor. She lowers her voice. If I am helping him heal, why does that matter? It matters because he will not always have you, the man says. And when you leave, the setback could be severe. She understands then. This is not about his recovery. It is about control. About ensuring that when the billionaire stands again, he stands on terms that can be managed. She returns to the room quietly. He notices immediately. They want you gone, he says. She nods. They think I am temporary. He lets out a soft, humorless laugh. Everyone in my life has been temporary. She sits beside him. I will not lie to you, she says. I might not be allowed to stay much longer. He is silent for a long moment. Then he reaches for the edge of the bed, grounding himself. Then I need to tell you something, he says. Before I lose the chance. She waits. I am afraid, he admits. Not of being alone. I am used to that. I am afraid that when you leave, I will close again. And I do not know if I can survive disappearing twice. Her throat tightens. You will not disappear, she says firmly. You are stronger than you think. He shakes his head. Strength is not the same as openness, he says. You taught me that. The next day, the decision comes down. She is called into the office and informed that her assignment will end at the close of the week. No explanation beyond professional boundaries. No discussion. She accepts it with quiet dignity. When she tells him, he does not protest. He only nods, absorbing the news with the same composure he once used in boardrooms. Thank you for telling me, he says. I would rather know than be surprised. On her final morning, the room feels different. Charged. As if both of them are aware that time has weight now. She does her routine slowly, memorizing each movement. When she finishes, she folds the white cloth one last time and places it beside the bed. I want you to keep this, she says. So you remember that you are capable of connection. He takes it carefully as if it might dissolve. I do not need the cloth to remember you, he says. She smiles, blinking back tears. This is not about me, she replies. This is about you choosing to stay open. As she turns to leave, he speaks again. If I stand, he says quietly, will you stay? She stops, her hand on the door. If you stand, she answers, it will be because you chose yourself, not because of me. She leaves the room before either of them can say more. That evening, alone for the first time in weeks, he looks at the folded cloth in his hands. He closes his eyes. The room is quiet again. But this time, the quiet does not feel empty. It feels like a beginning. The morning after she leaves, the room feels larger. Not brighter. Not quieter. Just larger, like something essential has been removed and the space does not know how to adjust. The folded white cloth rests on the side table where she always placed it. He stares at it for a long time before anyone else enters. The nurse checks his vitals. Another aide adjusts the monitors. A doctor asks him questions in a practiced, upbeat tone. He answers when required. Nods when expected. Everyone seems pleased. He is doing well, the doctor says later in the hallway. Better than expected. No one asks him how the room feels without her. By the second day, the improvement slows. Not medically. The numbers remain acceptable. But something in him tightens again. He speaks less. He turns his face toward the window more often. The quiet creeps back, not sudden, but patient. Familiar. That afternoon, the man in the tailored suit returns. He stands near the foot of the bed, hands clasped behind his back. "This is the right decision," he says. "You are progressing. You do not need distractions." He does not answer. "You will have new staff," the man continues. "Professionals. People who understand boundaries." Still, he says nothing. After the man leaves, the billionaire reaches for the white cloth. He presses it lightly between his fingers, grounding himself in the texture. He remembers her voice. Not loud, not soft, steady, as if she never doubted that he was still worth speaking to. That night, he tries something he has not done since the accident. He swings his legs over the side of the bed. The effort costs him more than he expects. His muscles protest. His balance wavers. He grips the mattress, breath shallow. A nurse rushes in, alarmed. "You should not do that alone," she says. "You are not ready." He looks at her. "I need to know if I can," he replies. She hesitates, then helps him sit upright. The room tilts, but he stays conscious. Present. For the first time since she left, something inside him steadies. The next morning, he asks for the chair by the window. "I would like to sit there," he says. The nurse looks uncertain, but the doctor approves. "Small steps," he says. "But this is encouraging." From the chair, the world looks different. The city is still there. Life is still moving. He realizes that while she was with him, he never felt left behind. Without her, the distance is sharper. By the end of the week, he is walking short distances with assistance. The man in the suit is pleased. "You see," he says, "you did not need her." The billionaire meets his gaze for the first time in days. "You are wrong," he says calmly. "I am doing this because of her." That night, he makes a decision. He asks for a phone. The man in the suit hesitates. "You are not cleared for business calls." "This is not business," he replies. The phone is brought to him anyway. He does not know her number. He never asked. He did not want to cross a line. But he knows where she lives. The address was in her file. Temporary staff always has a file. He stares at the screen for a long moment, then sets the phone down. Not yet, he thinks. This has to be a choice, not a reach for comfort. The following morning, he stands again. This time, he does not need to hold the bed. His legs shake, but they hold. The doctor watches from the doorway, surprised. "You are progressing faster than anticipated," the doctor says. "I am motivated," he answers. By afternoon, he asks for clean clothes. Not the hospital gown. Something real. The man in the suit senses the shift immediately. "What are you planning?" he asks. "I am leaving this room," the billionaire says. "And I am going to find the person who stayed when I could not." "You are not ready," the man insists. He turns to face him fully now, standing on his own. "I am ready enough to choose," he says. In a small apartment across town, she sits at her kitchen table, staring at her hands. She has not worked in days. The quiet presses in, different from the room she left behind. There is a knock at the door. She does not expect anyone. When she opens it, she freezes. He stands there, taller than she remembers, leaning slightly on a cane, eyes steady and unmistakably present. "I stood," he says simply, "and I came to ask you something." She cannot speak. "I am not asking you to come back as my maid," he continues. "I am asking you to stay. As yourself." The space between them hums with possibility. For the first time, the choice is hers. She does not invite him in right away. They stand in the doorway, the cold air slipping between them, the city humming softly behind him. He looks different here, without the machines, without the room that wants to find him. Smaller, somehow. More real. "You should sit," she finally says. He nods and steps inside carefully. The apartment is modest. Clean. Quiet. A small couch, a wooden table, a window that looks out over a row of brick buildings. Nothing about it speaks of wealth or power. And yet, he exhales as if he has been holding his breath for weeks. "This is where you live?" he says. "Yes," she replies. "It is enough." He studies the space the way he once studied balance sheets. Thoughtfully. Respectfully. "It feels honest," he says. She pours him a glass of water and hands it to him. Their fingers brush. Neither of them pulls away. "I need to be clear," she says, sitting across from him. "I did not leave because I wanted to. But I will not stay if this becomes something I owe you." "I know," he answers immediately. That is why I did not call. I needed to be able to stand here without asking you to save me. She watches his face, searching for the man she knew in the quiet room. He is still there. Softer now, but steadier. What happens if I say no? She asks. He does not flinch. Then I thank you, he says, for staying when no one else did. And I continue on my own. The simplicity of the answer surprises her. You are different, she says slowly. I am awake, he replies. There is a difference. She smiles faintly. Why me? She asks. You have access to the best therapists, the best care, the best people. He considers the question carefully. Because you did not try to make me better, he says. You did not rush me. You did not see me as a project. You saw me as someone who was still here, even when I could not prove it. She looks down at her hands. I am not special, she says. No, he agrees. But what you gave me was. Silence settles between them, not heavy, not empty. Familiar. If I stay, she says, it will not be as before. I would not want it to be, he answers. I am not asking you to take care of me. I am asking you to walk beside me. She meets his gaze. For the first time, she does not see fear there. She sees resolve. I am still learning how to be in the world again, he continues. Some days will be quiet. Some days will be hard. I cannot promise anything beyond honesty. That is all I would accept, she says. They sit like that for a long moment, two people suspended between what was and what could be. Finally, she stands. I will walk you home, she says. He smiles. Not wide, not triumphant, grateful. As they step back into the evening, the city feels different to both of them. Louder, closer, alive. When they reach the building, he stops. Will you come tomorrow? He asks. She nods. Yes, but not because you need me. Because you choose to, he says. Yes, she replies. As she turns to leave, he reaches out, not to stop her, but to touch her hand briefly. A promise without words. For the first time since the accident, he watches someone walk away without fear. Because he knows she will return. And because, at last, he knows he will not disappear if she does not. The days that follow are quieter, but not empty. She does not move into his world. He does not try to step into hers too quickly. Instead, they meet in the middle, one day at a time. Coffee in the morning at a small diner near her apartment. Short walks in the afternoon when his strength allows it. Long pauses where neither of them feels the need to speak. The man in the tailored suit does not like this. He notices the changes immediately. The billionaire begins to cancel meetings, declines interviews, pushes back deadlines that once would have terrified him. He is no longer chasing the pace that nearly destroyed him. You are risking momentum, the man says one afternoon, standing across from him in the penthouse living room. The board is watching. The public is watching. The billionaire remains seated, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee. Let them, he says calmly. I am still here. That is not enough, the man insists. You need structure. You need discipline. You need distance from distractions. His eyes flick briefly toward her, standing by the window. She is not a distraction, the billionaire says. She is the reason I can sit here at all. The tension sharpens. The man straightens his jacket. Then you are making a mistake, he says. Attachment is weakness. She feels the words land, heavy and deliberate. Later that evening, when they are alone, she finally speaks. He is afraid, she says. Not of me. Of losing control. He nods. Control kept me alive, he says. But it also kept me empty. She studies his face. You do not owe me anything, she says gently. If this becomes too much, you can choose differently. He meets her gaze. I am choosing, he says. For the first time, I am not being managed. That night, he tells her more than he ever has. About the accident. About how it was not simply bad luck. How the brakes failed on a stretch of road he had driven 100 times. How the investigation was quietly closed. How he woke up in a body that worked, but a mind that no longer trusted the world. I stopped feeling because feeling made me careless, he says. Or so I thought. She listens, her chest tight. You did not stop because you were careless, she says. You stopped because you were hurt. The next morning, the call comes. A lawyer. A meeting. New information. Evidence that the accident was not accidental at all. That someone close, someone trusted, had something to gain from his silence. The man in the tailored suit avoids his eyes when the truth begins to surface. She watches him. Absorb it, the anger, the betrayal, the grief layered beneath it all. She waits for him to shut down again. He does not. Instead, he reaches for her hand. Not to steady himself, but to acknowledge her presence. I am not alone, he says quietly. The confrontation is swift and public. Contracts reviewed. Authority reclaimed. The man in the tailored suit is removed from his position. Control shifts back where it belongs. But victory feels hollow without reflection. That evening, he stands by the window, city lights flickering below. I almost lost everything, he says. You did not, she replies. You found something. He turns to her. I found myself, he says. Because you stayed without asking for anything in return. She shakes her head. I stayed because I wanted to, she says. And because you let me. They stand there together, not as caretaker and patient, not as maid and billionaire, but as two people who chose honesty over fear. For the first time, the future does not feel like something to survive. It feels like something to build. The fallout does not come quietly. It begins with silence. Calls that stop coming. Invitations quietly withdrawn. Headlines that never appear. The world that once rushed toward him now pauses, uncertain how to approach a man who no longer performs on command. The board schedules a closed meeting. You should not attend, one advisor suggests carefully. Your recovery is still fragile. I am not fragile, he replies. I am different. She does not go with him. This is his ground to stand on alone. But when he leaves that morning, she places her hand on his arm. Whatever happens, she says, remember that you are allowed to choose peace. He nods. I will come back, he says. No matter the outcome. The meeting is tense. Faces he has known for decades study him as if he is a stranger. Questions come sharp and calculated. Are you fit to lead? Have you become emotionally compromised? Is your judgment clouded by personal involvement? He listens without interruption. When he finally speaks, his voice is steady. I was compromised before, he says. I confused endurance with strength. I confused silence with control. I will not do that again. They push back. They threaten instability, loss of confidence, reputation. He does not argue. If leadership requires me to be empty, he says calmly, then I was never truly leading. The room stills. The decision is postponed. Nothing is resolved. But something has shifted. When he returns home, the penthouse feels different than it once did. Less impressive. Less important. He finds her sitting by the window, waiting without pacing, without worry. They challenged you, she says. Yes, he answers. And, she asks. And I did not disappear, he says. That night, doubt creeps in anyway. He lies awake, staring at the ceiling, the old fears circling back. What if they are right? What if choosing connection costs him everything else? He has lost before. He knows how quickly things can collapse. He hears her move in the other room. The sound is small, ordinary, real. He sits up slowly and walks to the doorway. I am afraid, he admits quietly. She looks up at him. Of what? Of asking you to stay, he says. And one day being the reason you cannot. She sets the book aside and stands. You are not holding me, she says. I am here because I want to be. That might change, he says. Then we will face that when it does, she replies. Not before. Her certainty steadies him more than any reassurance could. The next morning, the response arrives. The board accepts his terms. Not all of them. Not easily. But enough. Authority restored. Boundaries redrawn. Conditions met. The man in the tailored suit is officially removed. His influence ends quietly, without ceremony. The world begins to move again. Interviews are requested. Public appearances suggested. The old life knocks, polite but persistent. He declines most of it. Instead, he takes her to a small park near the river. They sit on a bench, watching people pass. Children laughing. Couples arguing. Life unfolding without regard for wealth or power. This feels more important, he says. She smiles. It usually is. Later that evening, as the sun sets behind the city, he stops walking. She turns to him, concerned. What is it, she asks. I almost lost you, he says. Because I was afraid to need anything. She steps closer. You did not lose me, she says. But you are right. That fear almost did. He takes a breath, deeper than any he has taken in months. I do not want to survive anymore, he says. I want to live. And I do not want to do it alone. She searches his face, careful, thoughtful. Then do not ask me to save you, she says. Ask me to walk with you. He nods. Will you, he asks. She takes his hand, firm and certain. Yes, she says. I will. This time, the choice is mutual. And this time it holds. The announcement comes quietly. No press conference. No dramatic statement. Just a short internal memo and a few controlled conversations. He will return to leadership on his own terms. Fewer hours. Fewer appearances. A different structure. Some people are relieved. Others are disappointed. None of them truly understand. He does not try to explain. Instead, he invites her to walk with him through the city one afternoon. Without security, without schedule. The sidewalks are busy. People brush past them, unaware of who he is. He likes it that way. This is where I want to be seen, he says, gesturing to the street. Not above it. She smiles. Then you will have to get used to being ordinary sometimes. I am looking forward to it, he replies. They stop at a small bookstore. He has not been inside one in years. He runs his fingers along the spines, slow and deliberate. She watches him, noticing how easily he breathes here. I forgot how quiet can feel like choice, he says. Later, back at the penthouse, he opens a drawer and takes out the folded white cloth. He has kept it with him, careful, almost reverent. He places it on the table between them. I carried this through everything, he says. Meetings, confrontations, decisions. She looks at it, then at him. It was never the cloth, she says gently. I know, he answers. It was the reminder. He takes a breath, steady and certain. There is something I need to say, he continues. Not as someone recovering, not as someone grateful, but as someone choosing. She does not interrupt. I spent most of my life believing that if I stopped moving, everything would fall apart, he says. That people stayed because of what I could give them. Power, access, security. He meets her eyes. You stayed when I had nothing to offer. She shakes her head. You had yourself, she says. That was enough. He smiles softly. It was because you believed it first. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small object. Not a ring. Not yet. A simple key. This is for a place near the river, he says. It is smaller, quieter. I bought it for myself, but I do not want to live there alone. She looks at the key, then back at him. Are you asking me to move in? She asks carefully. I am asking you to build something with me, he replies. At whatever pace feels right. With honesty. With room to walk away if it ever stops being right. Her eyes glisten, but her voice remains steady. I will not disappear into your life, she says. And I will not let you disappear into mine. I would not want that, he answers. I want us to stand side by side. She takes the key, not as acceptance, but as acknowledgement. There is one condition, she says. Anything, he replies. We keep choosing, she says. Every day, not because of what we survived, but because of who we are becoming. He nods without hesitation. That is the only way I know how to do this now. That evening, they sit together on the balcony, city lights stretching endlessly below. No grand declarations. No promises carved in stone. Just shared space. Shared breath. For the first time, the future does not feel like a test. It feels like an invitation. The move happens slowly. Not all at once. Not with boxes stacked to the ceiling or dramatic goodbyes. Just small changes. A toothbrush by the sink. A jacket hung beside his. Mornings that begin without urgency and end without exhaustion. The apartment by the river becomes a place of quiet intention. Sunlight fills the rooms in the early hours. At night, the sound of water outside the windows replaces the constant hum of the city. He sleeps better there. She notices it before he does. Some days, he works. Some days, he does not. When he does, he leaves on his own terms and comes back without carrying the weight of the world with him. The board adjusts. The company adapts. Life moves forward without demanding that he disappear into it. One afternoon, they walk along the river, hands brushing, steps unhurried. He stops suddenly, looking out at the water. I used to think success was never stopping, he says. Never needing anyone. She looks at him. And now I think it is knowing when to stay, he answers. She smiles. You learned that late. He smiles back. But not too late. That evening, he prepares dinner. It is simple. Nothing extravagant. He insists on doing it himself. She watches from the doorway, amused, touched by the effort. When they sit down to eat, he reaches into his pocket. This time, it is a ring. Not large. Not flashy. Just honest. I am not asking because I need you, he says quietly. And I am not asking because you healed me. She waits, heart steady. I am asking because I choose you, he continues. Every version of me. The quiet one. The uncertain one. The one still learning. I want to keep choosing you, if you are willing. Tears fill her eyes, but she does not rush her answer. I am willing, she says. Because you never asked me to disappear into you. And you never disappeared into me. He slips the ring onto her finger, hands steady. They do not rush the wedding. There is no pressure. No spectacle. Just intention. When the day comes, it is small. A handful of people. The river nearby. The city in the distance. No speeches about power or recovery. Only promises spoken clearly and kept willingly. Later, as the sun sets, they stand together, watching the water move steadily forward. Do you ever miss the old life? She asks. He thinks for a moment. I miss the certainty, he admits. But I do not miss the emptiness. She nods. Certainty is overrated. He laughs softly. I know. That night, as they return home, he pauses at the doorway. He looks around the space they built together. Quiet. Honest. Whole. I did not lose myself, he says. She takes his hand. You found yourself, she replies. He squeezes her fingers gently. And for the first time in his life, staying does not feel like giving something up. It feels like coming home.